Hello, everyone. Please confirm if you can hear me very clearly. Okay, so my name is Adejumobi Joshua. I am a data scientist at Secob Analytics, and I'm also an AI researcher, at Machine Learning Collective. So it's nice to meet you all, and I'm joining us from Lagos. So I'm one of your tutors for the Generative AI course here. So please, before I move on, I would like to confirm if you can hear me very clearly. Okay, so I can't see our responses yet. Okay, great. All right. All right, great one. I can see our responses now, and it's great to see that we are all with me. All right, great. So just like I said before, my name is Adejumobi Joshua. I'm a data scientist at Secob Analytics and an AI researcher at a Machine Learning Collective. Okay, and I'm one of the tutors for this generative AI course. So before going into what we have today, Yeah, great. Great to see our responses now. Before going into what we have today, I'm sure most of us have interacted with a lot of GenAI applications or tools. So if you can put in the chat the GenAI tool that you've interacted with, and let me see what you've been able to do with it. So you can just put in the chat, oh, I've used ChatGPT and I used it to maybe summarize an article that I read. Oh, Gemini, great. I can see Dotun Speak saying Gemini. So I can see a lot of us have used Gemini. Wow, that's great. I can see ChatGPT. I can see Claude. I can see Perplexity, Meta AI. Of course, on WhatsApp, we all have Meta AI. So it's great to see that most of us have interacted with lots of AI, Gen AI tools, right? Wow, wow, that's excellent. VO3, exactly. Grok on Twitter, on X now, right? Wow, that's awesome to see that most of us have been able to interact with these tools, but most of us are only mentioning the tool that we've interacted with. I would also like to see what we have done with it. What have you done with these tools? What did you do with it? Yes, you've used GPT, Gemini, VO3, great one. So what did you do with these tools? I'd like to hear all about it. You can also put your response in the chat. Great one. I can see that I wrote a full code with it. Excellent. So you just give it your question. I'm like, oh, I need to write a code to do this, and then it writes it for you completely. Great one. Advertisement video with VO3. Wow, nice. Okay. Your school assignment to study, to get Python code. Excellent. Excellent. Great one. For your CV, great one. Great applications of GenAI to draft emails, yes. For coloring your book with for your kids, wow, great one. For song creation using Sono AI, add video with VO3. Great one. So from our responses, we can see lots of applications of generative AI, and now generative AI is helping us get ahead in today's world. You can see someone say, oh, they designed a business card with it, create a whole ad video with it, which those things, to do that without generative AI would have taken a lot of time, right? But now with little time, you can use it for your research. Wow, I like that. For research, to understand the important points in your research papers, to design, to create videos, and lots of applications that we've also mentioned in the chat. It's great to see that we are all engaging, because I really like an interactive class. All right, so we've already set the stage, and most of us have used GPT, we've used Claude, we've used Gemini, we've used VO3, we've used Sono AI. Exactly, Adiragbeni. The possibilities with Gen AI are actually endless, and it's really helping us get ahead in today's world. All right, so I'll be sharing my screen right now. Sure, we can all see my screen. Okay, it's loading. Yes. So we've all set the stage by talking about the different applications that we've used generative AI for. Somebody said they used it to design a flyer, right? And that person said they used it for in an ad, right? An ad video, right? And that person said, oh, to recreate my CV, and that person said, oh, to draft my emails. So the possibilities of Gen AI is a lot, and it is actually helping us a lot, right, in today's world. So generative AI, they help us generate new content, just like some of us have said in the chat, and we already know some of the popular tools that we use for generative AI: GPT, Gemini, Claude, VO3. We even have Meta AI on our phone, which you can really, on WhatsApp, right, which you can easily ask question. On X, we have Grok. Like everywhere we go, there's always, like, every app nowadays always has generative AI embedded in it, and it helps to make our world easier. Fine, we have all mentioned the different applications, but all these applications can be grouped under either text generation, code generation. Somebody said, oh, I use GPT rather to generate, to write a whole code for me, right? Which is very, very excellent to today's world, because a code that would have taken you like 3 to 4 days, right, to write, to think about, and to also debug, right? In today's world, you can just do it within hours, as long as you know the right questions to ask and the right context to give to your models. And that person said, oh, I use this for song generation with, I think, Sona AI. We can also use Genai for audio generation, video generation, VO3, and then also for image generation. I'm sure most of us, we know a particular trend on Instagram that we saw a time ago, that everybody, they were posting pictures with oil overflowing from their head. So that kind of trend too was also made possible via Gen AI. All right, so I would like to know if you are still with me. All right, great one. Oh, you can't see my screen. Please, can you see my screen now? Confirm if you can see my screen. Okay, yes, you can see my screen. Okay, great one. Great one. That's nice. All right, so moving on, we've seen that we can categorize the different applications of Gen AI that we said. We can categorize it into maybe text generation, code generation, audio, image generation, or video generation, right? But let's now look into the text generation part, the text generation aspects. So most of us are also familiar with large language models like GPT 3.5. So this type of models, right, they've been trained on a large set of human-like text, right? And that is why they are able to help us perform tasks like somebody said in the chat earlier, draft your emails. Another person said, oh, summarize a piece of article. Another person said, oh, I use it for research. Another person said a very, very important tool that I also use a lot, which is NotebookLM. And then we are also still going to see how to use that in this class today. So we have a lot of applications for generative AI, right? Just like we can see on my screen, for translation, right? We can use Google Translate. There was a time I went to Tunis, and then we were so lost on the French that they were speaking there. But with Google Translate, right, we were able to write whatever we needed, right, in English, and then translate it to French, which was very helpful in our journey. So it's for translation, and then for also summarization, yes. And most of these models that we listed here, even more, we have already mentioned. So we've mentioned all these. We can use it for text, images, video, code generation, and all. We also have chatbot summarization. So we've mentioned all this, email drafting, which says that most of us have a very good idea here of what we use generative AI for and how it can help us in our day-to-day activities. All right, so just to do a quick practical of the different applications of Genai. Most of us said we've used Gemini, right? So you can just go to Gemini right now. All you just have to do is go to your browser and then type Gemini, right? So go to your browser. Let me stop sharing this slide. And then I'll share a new screen. Yes, so I'm going to share my Gemini screen now. Okay. All right, so please confirm if you can see my screen. All right, great one. So let's see some easy usage of Gemini. You can just type Gemini right in your browser, and then you'll be directed to the same screen that you can see. And I'm sure most of us have already used this tool before because we already mentioned it right in the chat. All right, but for those people that might not have the opportunity, right, to use that yet, so that is why we are doing this very, very quick demo of using an AI tool to create image. Let's take that as our first case study. So let's say we want to create a new image. Say, give me, show me, no, create an image of a pink horse. So you have to click on create image, right? What you want to do, and then you see within minutes, right, it's going to create that image for it's going to create that image for you. Great. So can anybody give me an example of what another image that they would like to, wow, this is a very beautiful horse. So can anybody give me an example of maybe an image that they would like to see? I'm looking at your comments in the chat. Oh, I should zoom in. All right. I'm going to zoom in. Okay, a whale, a race car. All right, let's see that. A whale. Somebody said heaven. Okay, I'm actually curious about that now. So create an image of heaven and let's see how that is going to look like. Create an image of heaven. All right, so it's taking the previous our previous image and also trying to give you can see the angels right there and trying to give you a fictitious image of heaven, right? So this is the part for an image generation part. Somebody said, oh, I use generative AI to write a full code, right? We can also see that. Let's just cancel this image aspect part and say, oh, write me a Python code to calculate So calculate what? So let me see your responses in chat. What type of code would you like us to write today? So what kind of code? You can also try it out at your end, right? I don't have to be the one trying everything. So you just go to Gemini and then try to create an image. Say somebody said a professional chef. Yes, you can also do that. A man drinking from a river. Zombies, wow. So you can try that also at your end, right? On your end, and let us see what you get, right? So yes, you can use VO3 mostly for generating videos. So for code now, give me an example of a code you like me to tell Gemini to write. Okay, somebody said calculate the value of pi. I want a more complex uh code for it to help us write something more complex. So let's have an idea. So I'm waiting. Hmm. Write a Python code to calculate the speed of light. Let's see. Heaven indeed, right? Yeah, so let's say help me write a Python code to calculate the speed of light. All right, so let's see what it's going to return. All right, so we have our canvas opened, and then you can see it's trying to help us to write that code for us in Python. So we've seen the image generation part, we've seen the code generation part. What other part can we see? Let's see research. Let's see the research generation part. So do we all know, for most of us that have used Gemini before, that you can use deep research? So when you click on deep research, what it does is that it helps you to search for research papers on that topic that you have selected. So instead of the amount of time that we used to do literature review normally, you have to go to connected papers, type your topic of interest, and then start clicking, checking for papers that are similar, right, to your topic, right? Within few minutes, right now, you can just search for a particular topic, and then you get lots of papers that are connected to your topic of interest. So let's say I want to do a research on attention is all you need. Transformers. Let's do attention is all you need is the Transformers paper. So I need to do a research on yeah, I can see that we are still giving me but Gemini is not how easy with Gemini has a free version actually is the Amos. Gemini, you just have to type Gemini, right? I'm using the free version also, as you can see. You can see upgrade to Google AI Plus here. So I'm using the free version, and the free version is fairly good, right? So we have let's write a CSS code. Everyone, Olakule, you can also try it out at your end. Yes, exactly. You can use your phone. So thank you very much, Fadeke Felicia. All you just have to do is go to your Google Chrome browser and then type Gemini, right? And then you are going to have access to it. So I can see that we are still giving me lots and lots of examples, right? So all you just have to do is go to Gemini. It's not only Gemini that you can use, right? You can also use there's a free version also of Claude, and there's also I think a free version, yes, of ChatGPT. So any of these AI models, right, you can go there and then try out these different things that we are trying out: the image generation part, the code generation acceleration that we just did. And then currently we are doing deep research. We are doing deep research, right? And also try it out on your end. Okay, let's see how far it has gone. So it's going to take a lot of time, right? So it's asking me a question. It will be ready in 4 minutes. So I'll just click on start research. Yeah, so it's currently researching, looking for all kind of papers it can get for me on the transformer architecture. Done, it's going to give me a very nice overview, right, of what it was able to get. Okay, so while that is going on, while Gemini is doing that deep research for us, I'm going to stop sharing my Gemini screen and then move back to my slides so we can continue. All right, so I'm sure as I'm trying it at my end, we are also trying it out at your end too. Yes, Ufoma, there's a free version of Gemini. Yes. So more, yes, they have Meta AI. I'm sure we all have access to Meta AI on WhatsApp. Yes, so it's also embedded there. Future act, they are saying it's not working. Can you be more specific? What's not working? Is it Gemini? Oh yeah. Oh, I should talk about the learning management system. Oh, it's not in my place to talk about the learning management system. I'm sure you get the help that you need for the learning management system soon. You don't have to worry. But long as you are able to connect to the YouTube live, right? I'm sure that you are not missing anything, and they know that something is actually going on with the learning management system. So um they'll be working on it. Yes, they are working on the learning management system. Great. That's a great one. Yes, thank you very much, Somto Chukwu. So in a while, you'll be alerted when the learning management system is up. All right, so moving on, let's go back to our slides. Then I'll go share my screen again. Okay. So I'm sure everything I've tried out here, we are also trying it out on our end, right? So um the deep research is done. Great. So I'll share my screen so we can see the results. Please confirm if you can still hear me very clearly. Yes, you get access to all this in the learning management system, I believe. All right, great one. So my deep research is done. Deep research is done. So let me share my screen so we can see that. We can see the awesome results. So instead of taking a lot of time, like we usually do then, to do literature review about a specific topic, right? Within a few minutes right now, you can just get a very comprehensive review of whatever topic, research topic you are working on. So you can see these results here the expert report on the transformer architecture. You can see it. You can see, giving me a very comprehensive review of the transformer architecture. We'll be coming back to this transformer architecture. I picked it because of a very important reason, and we are still going to go back to it as we move on in today's class, right? But before we get there, let's continue with our slides. So we've seen a few applications of Genai using Gemini, and I'm sure we all have been able to access Gemini. If you've not been able to access it, all you just have to do is go to Chrome and then type Gemini, right? And then you'll be able to have access to it and then do different things that we've been able to do today: generate an image, do deep research, and then also write code, right, about anything you want. But a view caveat is that Gen AI models are not always 100% perfect, right? They can make mistakes, right? That is why it's always important that whatever they do or whatever they generate for us, we as humans, we have to always validate it, right, before we use it or move on with what has been generated. All right, we've seen the applications in code. We're able to generate a code to calculate the speed of light. Yeah, for video, I think I saw a question earlier for video. Then for video, you want to use a tool like Veo3 to generate excellent um uh, videos, right, for any scenario that you need. So moving on with our slides. Oh, I'm sure most of us, somebody also mentioned Copilot the other time when I was asking about tools, that AI tools, that Gen AI tools rather, that we have used. And then we also know that apart from going to those interfaces, right? Apart from going to their interface like ChatGPT and then Gemini that we saw the other time, or Claude, right? Apart from going to their interface, as developers, right, you can also use these models via APIs, right, in your application. So you don't always have to go to the GPT interface or the Gemini interface, right, or Claude interface, right, to have access to the model, right. Via API, that's the application programming interface, right, you can also have access to these models in your application. Let's say you want to build an application to summarize um your company's file, right, your company's document, right, or you want to have an app, your own special application, right, to summarize your meetings because you don't like reading lots and lots of meeting notes, right. So you can have your own specific um AI model, right, in your own custom application, right. So another even very beautiful scenario is, let's say how many of us are very used to SQL, where you have to write some code to get data from a database, right. So instead of having to write SQL code manually, that's nowadays, right, you can just set up your AI model, right, where you can just ask your question. That's one of another application here, where you can just set up your application such that you just ask the question, right, in natural language, and then the model is going to generate the SQL query from you, run it against the database, and then give you a very beautiful result, right, in natural language. Now, all these are very, very great applications of Gen AI. Yeah, of Gen AI. So we have different tools and framework. Most of us would mention OpenAI because, of course, they are the flagship company. Most of us mention OpenAI. Some of us mentioned, we've used Gemini, right, a lot in today's class. And then would also be seeing, we'll majorly be using Hugging Face, right, in our class because it gives us access to these models for free. Okay, so before moving on, let me check up on us if we are also following. Okay, yeah, great to see that we are following. Yeah, please, I'll kindly employ us to be patient for the LMS, learning management system, that is not working. As we've been told before, it's currently being worked on. All right, so great one. So moving on. So I'm sure we can all still see my screen, right? So as I was saying, we've mentioned OpenAI, we've mentioned GPT rather from OpenAI, ChatGPT from OpenAI. We've mentioned Claude, right, from Anthropic. Some of us also mentioned Llama, right, from Meta. Right, so majorly in this class, we'll be making use of models from Hugging Face up, right? Because we have access to free models that we do not need to pay for, and then we'll be using the inference API, right, on Hugging Face. Won't be using OpenAI API, but if you have access, right, because it is paid, right, but if you have access to maybe a paid API key, right, whatever notebook you are given in the class, right, you can always swap the models, right, with the OpenAI models version, GPT-4 or GPT-5, right? You can always swap them and then change the completion endpoint, right? And then you would also, of course, supply your API keys, and then you get great responses just as you've been taught in the class. But because we want everybody to be able to follow along in the class, we'll majorly be using Hugging Face inference API, which is gives us access to free models. We also have PyTorch, TensorFlow. All this gives us like the granular access to these models where you would need like GPU, more like your T4 on your Google Colab, right, to be able to have access and run these models on your own on your computer, right? But due to the volumity and how big, right, some of this model is, putting it literally, right, we won't be making use of PyTorch nor TensorFlow, majorly be making use of the Hugging Face inference endpoint. So none of us will be running into GPU issues or saying, oh, I'm trying to run like a 70 billion parameter model and then, oh, it is not working and I don't have enough memory or something like that. So we won't be running into all those issues. Right. So now in this first class, we'll be majoring on NLP fundamentals. So let me see if you can still see my screen. I've tried to zoom in and you can see. For those saying I should zoom in, I've tried to zoom in, but I think you cannot still see my screen clearly. Okay. So in this first class, we'll be focusing on the text part. I'm sure most of us have gotten access to our curriculum, right? Because I have the information that we've gotten access to the curriculum, so we know the flow, right, of the class. Okay, great. So we know the flow of the class. So the first part of the class, we'll be talking about the text generation part. And then as we move on, we'll also see the parts for video generation, speech, and then also translation. Just like I said before, I said you do not have to always go to this interfaces. You don't have to go to ChatGPT UI, or you don't have to go to Claude's UI, or you don't have to go to Gemini's UI, just like we did earlier, to have access to this model. I said just with their API, right, you can also have access to them in your Python code. We use Python majorly. You majorly be using Python, right, for this class. So in your Python code, and I'm sure most of us, we have like a beginner knowledge of Python, right? Of course, for generative AI class, I'm sure most of us will have beginner knowledge of using Python, because we'll be using Python majorly for this class. So we also be seeing how we can use this models APIs, right, in our Python code, right? We'll go from the text part. Apart from we go to the text part, we'll go to the speech part, we'll go to video, and we'll also go to the image generation part. We'll also see how to make use of, I'm just trying to give a brief quick summary, because I'm not sure all of us have seen the curriculum because of some of the questions that we are asking. So I'm trying to give a brief summary of what we'll be covering in this 8 weeks, right? So we are starting with a quick introduction to the text generation part, and how to use Hugging Face API. We'll be seeing that. Then we'll also see, just like I said before, the image generation, speech. We'll also see how to do translation, right? Something like Google Translate, right? How do you translate from one language to another? I'm sure we are all excited for that. We'll be seeing that. And then we'd also be seeing in the last week of this 8 weeks class, right? We'll be seeing how to make use of yes, we'll be seeing how to make sure that our models, right, our AI models, all the systems that we are building, I said that you do not always have to go to the interface, the UI of maybe GPT or Claude or Gemini, right, to access this model. You can always access them in your code, right, via API, and you don't have to worry too much about this, because we'll be teaching you how to do that in this class, right? So we'll also be seeing how to make sure that your models are bringing out, they are outputting, rather, they are outputting safe responses. Your model is not giving out private information that is not supposed to give out, right? Your model is not saying harmful things that is not supposed to say, right? Your model is not also being biased, right? So we are going to see all that as we move forward in these 8 weeks. So for those that have seen the curriculum, I'm sure that they'll be more conversant with what I'm currently saying. For those that have not seen the curriculum, so I'm just giving you a quick run through of what we'll be doing, so that you have it in mind, right, at the back of your mind, before you are able to see the curriculum on what we are going to be covering for these 8 weeks. So I hope you are as excited as I am. And I'm also going to tell you that I'm not the only tutor that you'll be seeing. You'll also be seeing my colleague. His name is Bashiruddin Okoyemi, right, as we move on in this class. All right. So moving on, we've talked about the applications of Genai for we've seen the text generation, we've seen image generation, right? And now we are focusing on, we are drilling down to the first part, which is the text generation aspect. So have you ever wondered, right? Have you ever wondered how come I'm able to like type this to this model, right? And the model is able to understand what I'm saying. Wow. Have you ever thought about that, right? The fundamental, right, behind this, we call it natural language processing. Computers now understand and can work with human languages. In the curriculum, wow. All right. Okay, so I'll give a very brief knowledge, right? Oh, I'm seeing most of us is saying that, oh, we don't have Python knowledge. Great to see that some of us do not have Python knowledge. Wow, all right, that's nice. Oh, you're saying you cannot hear me very clearly? Oh, I'm surprised to see that you cannot hear me very clearly because I'm speaking very clearly. Oh, some of us do not have beginner knowledge of Python, right? Okay, so our employers, right, before we move forward, right, you can always just do a crash course, right, on Python, right, before moving on in the class, so that when we get to some parts where you have to like write some programs, right, you do not. Oh, I can see someone saying everything I'm mentioning is new to me. Wow. All right. So it's great to that I mentioned that. All right. Great one. So my advice, right, to us, right, in this Genai class that we are saying, okay, I can see that some of you are saying you've not seen the curriculum. You don't have to worry, you'll be seeing the. Yeah, so for if you can't hear me very clearly, please try to make sure that you are very you have like the highest volume up on your computer, right? All right, so I can see some of us are saying, no, this is very new to us, right? You don't have knowledge of Python and all, so you don't have to be scared. You don't have to be, right, dismayed, right? So don't worry. You just have to make sure you follow along um as we move on in this class. And another thing I would like to also tell us, right, to be very truthful, right, for those of us that do not have like knowledge of Python, I will employ us to go to let's say Kaggle, Kaggle, right? Yes, I'm not changing my screen yet. So you can just go to Kaggle, Kaggle, and then do a crash course on Python, right? It's not hard. You can just take 2 to 3 days to just have like that Python refresher so that you won't be totally new to when we start the programmatic aspect of GenAI, because we won't just be using yeah, we won't just be using the UI. Thank you for that, typing that away, Gabriel. So we won't just be using the user interface. You don't have to worry, you're going to have access to the curriculum once the learning management system is up, right? So we won't just be using the user interface UI of Gemini or Claude or ChatGPT, right? Just like. So yeah, you don't have to be scared, right? You can just always follow along, and we won't just be using the UI. Yeah, Coursera might take like a long time, so I'm looking for something short for you to catch up as fast as possible, right? So we won't just, thank God I mentioned it, right? We won't just be using the UI, user interface of ChatGPT, or the user interface of just Claude, or the user interface of just Gemini. Yeah, I know ChatGPT is good, right? And for those that don't even have knowledge on Python, right, as you are doing the crash course, right, you can just be using it to for places that you don't understand. Just copy it, ask ChatGPT, oh, what does this thing mean? Or for places you don't understand, Google it, oh, what does this thing mean, right? For Akpotieri is saying you are lost. So if you are just joining, we started with introducing what generative AI is. And then after introducing what generative AI is, we don't need to download anything on your system. We'll majorly be using Google Colab to run this class. So we'll be using, yes, Kaggle is free, Phoebe Oshubumi. So we'll be using Google Colab, right, for this class. So you don't need to have any headache, right, about downloading anything on your system, right? So you just have to type Google Colab, right, and then you have interface to that. All right. Yes, you don't have to be scared, right? Yeah, you are going to use Google Colab, please. It's a free platform where you can run your Python codes. And then for the crash course, you can just use Kaggle, right? To just get like a fast understanding of what Python is. Like 2 to 3 days, you'll be done. And if you are getting stuck, that is why you are now in the Genai class. So most of us have said, yeah, even if you have just your phone, right? As long as you can access Google Chrome on your phone, all you just have to do is type collab, right? All you just have to do is type collab. Any Kenny, please tell me where you got lost, right? Because we are currently answering questions and getting familiar to the knowledge that the participants have before we continue with the class. So tell me where you got lost, any Kenny. So if you just have your phone, if you don't have a PC yet, right, you do not have to also worry. All you just have to do is go to your Google Chrome and then type Google Colab, right? So when you go to Chrome, your browser, just type Google Colab and then you have access to what's the platform that we'll be using, right? For COLAB, right? Then you'll be having access to the platform yes, COLAB, yes. Exactly, you actually need to have beginner. You don't have to have like an expert or intermediate level, right? Beginner level of Python is very, very important. Yes, you can use your phone. You can have access to Google Colab on your phone, right? All you just have to do is go to Chrome and then type Colab, right? All right, so moving on, we've set our priorities straight. We all know what we are expecting in this class. Wow, I thought my knowledge was that we already have an idea of what our curriculum looks like. Yes, Felicity, you can use your phone for this. Yes, you are going to have access to the notes that I am using and even all the collab notebooks that we'll be using to run our Python codes, right, for this lesson. All right, so moving on, in this class, we started with what generative AI is, right? And we all talked about the different things. So for people that are saying they are lost, please listen very closely, right? So we all started with the different applications of Gen AI that we have used. Some of us said email drafting. So I'm not changing my screen yet. I'm just trying to give a brief recap for those people that said they are lost, right? So let me start from the beginning where we are supposed to start from, assuming we've not seen the curriculum, right? So the first thing I said was what we are going to be doing in this class, like what we expect that we will be doing in this class. Right. So I did the first thing that I'll be doing in this class is learn about what generative AI is, and I'm sure we have all given our experience with generative AI, right? And how we've been able to work with generative AI. And I'm sure for those of us that are saying we are lost, please just listen very closely to the recap that I'm trying to do now. All right. So we are going to start with what generative AI is. I understand, right? So we are going to have a understanding of what generative AI is, the different applications of what generative AI is, and I'm sure most of us have mentioned it, and some of us have even told us, oh, what's the specific things that they used it for. So moving on now, we are moving on to we are drilling down to the text generation aspect. So I said that in the course of these 8 weeks, we all know that this is going to be an 8 weeks class. In the course of these 8 weeks, we'll be seeing how to use these different models, right? Not from their user interface, right? In summary of what I've said, we're using them not from their user interface, but with an API, meaning an application programming interface. So we are going to be using that to see how we can use these models, right, to build our own custom applications. Let's say I can create an application to um create I can create an application to say, oh, any question that I'm asking, oh, I want this application to be able to answer frequently answered question from my company, right? So as long as we are able to get this knowledge, right, we'll be able to not just use Genai, right, from ChatGPT user interface, or just from Gemini user interface, or just from Claude user interface, right? We'll be able to take it a step further and say, oh, I was able to build like a chatbot with GPT's API, or I was able to build an image generation tool with this and this API. Oh, I was able to build this with this and this. Yes, you'll be having access to that in your learning management system. You don't have to worry about that. So that is like a brief run through of what we'll be doing in this class. And then today we are now drilling down to the text generation aspect. Okay, so it's great to see that we are all now with me. We are now drilling down to the text generation aspect. So I was trying to say that we've seen the different applications: text generation, code generation, image generation, audio generation, and all kinds. So now we are drilling down once again, so we don't get lost. We are drilling down to the text generation aspect of Genai, right? So how are they able to how are these models able to generate text and all? So this we call this process, right? We call it natural language processing, right? When you tell ChatGPT or when you tell Gemini, hi, it responds. It say, oh, I'm having issues with drafting this email. Help me rephrase it. It's able to give you like a very better phrasing of whatever you give it. Or you say, oh, I'm having issues understanding this article. Please summarize the main points for me. And then it's able to give you a very good summary of important points that you need to know, right, in that article. And also, like just we saw for deep research, right? You said, oh, I need to understand something about transformers, right? And then it was able to give you like different research papers, right? And bring everything together for you. Things that would have taken you lots of hours, right, to do, right? It was able to give you that in few minutes. So all this for anything text, right? Anything text, the fundamental, right? The underlying technology rather behind it is called natural language processing, right? It's just the ability of computers to understand, right, and work with human language. That is why we are able to easily converse like with these models from their UI. And how does it do this, right? We all know that, wow, computers, they only understand numbers, right? They only understand numbers. So how are they able to understand text? Have you ever thought about it? Oh, how are they able to understand the text that we are saying, right? All they do this in very, very simple steps. You just have to know the eye level in your mind. You don't have to really worry about how it is being done, because we are not going into the details of how it is being done, right? You just have to have this eye level overview in your mind, as we'll be using mostly completion endpoints, inference endpoints, right, for our classes. So, and you do not even have to have such great knowledge of Python, so you don't have to be scared, right? All this is very, very easy and to follow along with. So as I was saying, so have you ever thought of, oh, how does this models, GPT, Gemini, how did they understand what I'm saying? When computers, we know that computers only understand numbers, right? So the first thing it does from the text generation point of view, we'll be seeing other types, right, as we move on in this class, right? So not just to bombard us with lots of knowledge, right? For the text generation point of view, the first thing it does is to tokenize. When we say tokenize, we are breaking up sentences, right, into individual words, subwords, or parts, right? Just like an example that you can see here. Then an optional step, right, is to stem, right? It will just remove endings, right, of the word. Is either you stem or you do lemmatization. The difference between, don't worry, you don't have to worry. You are going to have access to these slides that you are seeing on my screen also, I believe, in the learning management system. All right, so moving on, the stemming or lemmatization instead, lemmatization will just look for the dictionary form, right, of a word and then give it to you. So either tokenization, the first thing it does, so you just have to understand the eye level, right? You don't have to really understand, oh, how it works. We are not going into the details of how it works in this class. We are only understanding the eye level and then how to use these models to build our applications to solve our own specific problems. That is the beginning, end, and the goal of this class. So you don't have to be too worried or get too worried, right? All right, so moving on, we've talked about how we are talking about how computers are able to understand text, right? How are they able to understand text? That we just type I and then they respond to us. The first thing they do is to tokenize, break the words, right, into chunks. So after doing that, either stem or lemmatize, just to have like the root form of the word. The difference between stemming and lemmatization is that stemming will just chop off the roots, the endings of the word, while lemmatization will look for the dictionary form of that word. And then the next thing we do is to have embeddings, right? So embeddings are just a way of now turning those chunks of words, then turn them into numbers, so computers can now understand, because they don't understand the words that you're talking to them about. Sorry, they don't understand the words that you're talking to them about, right? They are only majorly understand, they only understand numbers, right? So these embeddings will now help you turn your words, right, into numbers. We'll be seeing more about this as we move on in the class. All you just have to know is that, oh, they help you convert your words. Very literally, we say they help you convert your words, right, into numbers or vectors that your computer will understand, right? Just know in your mind that, oh, the way ChatGPT is understanding my word is the first thing it does is, it's going to tokenize. Then after tokenizing, it's going to either stem or lemmatize. Then after doing that, it has got some embeddings, right, that will turn the words into numbers, right? And similar words, right, they will be in like similar place, right? Queen, girl, they'll be in like similar place. Words that are not similar, right, they won't be too close, right, together. So, and that is how computers, GPT, Gemini, on a very, very high level, right, that is how they are able to understand whatever we are saying, right? So before moving on, I'd like to ask, because I know that we are going to have lots of questions, right? So this is just like a very brief fundamental, right, of the kind of technology that powers our large language models, right, like GPT-4 Omni is not a large language model because it can do audio, video, and a lot of things. Let's say like GPT 3.5, yes, which is a text-based model, right? This is how they work. The first thing they do is to tokenize your text. After tokenizing, they can convert the word to the root word, either through removing the ending part or extracting the root part that goes with a dictionary form, and then they will embed it. When you say embedding, you are just turning the numbers into vectors, turning, sorry, your words into numbers, so words of the same meaning, words that are similar, right, you see them in the same space. Words that are not similar, they will be in different places. That is why when you say, oh, I am trying to computer, your GPT is able to give you like the next most similar word to that, because of this embedding. Because words that are similar, they'll be what, in the same place. Words that are not similar, they'll be in different places. That's why it doesn't give you gibberish when it is generating text for you, because similar words, right, it sees them in the same place, and then the similar words, it sees them in different places. That's just like the very, very simple analogy of how GPT, Gemini, these models, they are able to generate text. All right, so we've done like lots of introduction to what generative AI is. We've seen different use cases. We've seen the image generation part. We've seen the code generation. We've seen deep research, right? But one thing I also still want us to see, right, before we move on in this class is the somebody mentioned notebook LM. So I really want us to see that part of notebook LM. But before we move on to the notebook LM part, let me see if we have any questions. Oh, I can see a question saying, oh, you don't, it's not everyone that has a laptop here. Yes, yes, just like I said before, you just have to go to your Chrome, right? Chrome, and then type Google Colab, Google Colab, right? So when you type Google Colab, right, you are going to see it. You can access it on your phone, and then you can just always type in your code and then run it. Don't worry, I'm going to be okay. Let me just share my screen and then do that intro for us, so you can see how to use Google Colab. Yes, exactly. I love that, Simono. You can use AI to teach you Python basics. Yes, that is another very important use case that we said, code generation, right? So for those of us that, I think some of us are having issues, so before showing us how to use yes, of course, as long as you have Google Chrome, right, you can always access any browser, right? Just from your browser, just type Google Colab, right? We are going to be using it in this class. Okay, before we move on to using, so I can see that some of us cannot access uh Colab, right? Before I teach you how to access Colab and all, so can anybody give me like a brief run through? You can type it in the chat of what you've been able to learn today, of what we've done today, so that I know that we are not lost and then we are following with today's class. Yes, you don't have to be scared, right, about the Python. It's just a very basic one that you can just learn. Very, very basic things, right, that you need to um learn, right? And then of course your Genai models can always help you to fasten the process. So tell me, I can't see your responses in the chat. What have you learned today before we move on to the notebook LM part, and then before I teach you how to access Colab? I can see Bidemi Oyedoku saying NLP fundamentals, yes. So I've learned how computer is able to understand human language. Great one. And Ali is saying I can create image using Gemini. I love that. Embeddings is how computers interpret words as numbers. Esther, great one. Genai tools, tokenization, AP. Oliver Jomiloji Ezekiel is saying pink ores. All right, so we've given very, very fundamental understanding of this concept, right? And I'm great to see that most of us are understanding these things, right? So another very, very interesting application that I would love to introduce to us, right? Apart from, because I only saw one person that mentioned it in the chat, just one person, that's Notebook LM. I saw most of us mention Gemini, most of us mentioned Claude, most of us mentioned Grok, most of us mentioned Sonai AI, most of us mentioned PO3 and all. Yes, you don't have to worry. Ochuka Gift Collab is free. Yes. So one thing, so sorry about that. You can always rewatch that on YouTube, right? All right, so we've seen the different use cases of Genai and what we can use it for. And then we also understand the technology that powers, from this class now, you now understand the technology that powers your GPT. You understand how it is able to sorry, excuse me. You understand how it is able to understand text, because we know computers don't just understand text, right? They have to convert that text into numbers, right? So we can see that we've been able to learn quite a lot in today's class. So yes, Chukudi, I love that. That's great. So now moving on, a very interesting application rather, great one, Felicity, that I want us to learn, that most of us do not understand, is, well, Ayokunle, sorry, I want to answer Ayokunle's question before moving. They said embedding is just like encoding in supervised learning. I'll say partially yes, because fine, yeah, also converting words, right, into numbers, but embedding is different. You know, I said that for embeddings, right, the numbers, similar words, right, their numbers will be in the same place. That is a very, very important aspect of embedding also that I mentioned. Similar words, they'll be in the same place. The similar words, they will not be in the same place. I don't want to use too many technical terms, but in that aspect, you know that for your encoding in supervised learning, all this, your label encoding and all, similar words, they don't have a space that they stay in, right? So in this for Ayokule, sorry, you don't have to, I'm trying to answer Ayokule. So for embedding, right, similar words, another very important aspect that you have to put in your mind is that similar words, they'll stay in the same place, while the similar words, they won't be in the same place, but you don't have to disturb yourself too much. Exactly, yes, you are going to be using that API. That is the very, very important part of what we are going to be learning. Now let's move on to learn how to use notebook LM, right? Notebook LM. So I want us all to, so this is going to be our first assignment, right, of today, of this class, right? First assignment of this class, right? So I will just be starting. So let me share a new tab. Please, as I am doing this, I want you to also try it out on your end, right? Try it out on your end. As I'm doing this, also try it out on your end, right? So let me stop sharing and then I'll share a new screen for how to use Notebook LM. That is the last that, 'cause, 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 ' implementation that we are going to be seeing today. All right, so moving on. Yeah, you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry. You can use your phone for everything I'm explaining, right? You just have to go to your browser. You don't even have to worry at all. You're not installing anything on your PC, not at all. You just have to go to your browser and then type anything I'm saying. Then you have access to it. All right, so I'm saying I want to teach us how to make use of Notebook LM. So let me share my screen again. So my screen will be up in few minutes. Um, yes, so I'm sure we all can see my browser. And just like I typed Notebook LM in the browser tab, you'd also want to do that on your end. So you are going to get all these options, Google Notebook LM and all. So the first thing you want to do is click on it. Click on it and then click So I already have an account before. So before moving into what we want to do with Notebook LM, so if you've been able to get to this point that I am, this specific point, because I know this is not like Gemini or ChatGPT or Claude that most of us are used to, or VO3 that most of us are used to. So I'm sure for quite a number of us, maybe like 50%, we might be hearing Notebook LM for the first time, and I'm sure it's going to be a very useful addition to AI tools that we are used to. All right, so if you have been able to get to this point that I'm currently in, let me know in the chat if you're having issues with accessing Notebook LM. So if you are having issues with accessing Notebook LM, oh, you can't go to the browser while listening to YouTube. It stops the class. All right. Okay, 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 okay. All right. Okay then. So you can just take notes, right? And then watch it later, right, as we move on. So one thing you can do with Notebook LM that I was trying to explain is, so I'll just refresh because of my network. Okay. So you can use Notebook LM to, you can upload any PDF file, say a paper, a research paper, or maybe an article that you're finding it so hard to read, right? You can just upload it into Notebook LM and then you just create a podcast from it. Imagine listening to your paper as a podcast. Isn't that very innovative? So this is another excellent application of Genai, right? So I'm sure some of us have been able to get to this interface that I'm currently in, while some of us we've not been able to get here. So if you're not able to currently do this right now, you can always do it later. All I just want you to do is make sure you are fully following what I am doing. So the paper, this is our first assignment, just like I said. You would download the click on another tab and then say attention is all you need paper. So the paper attention is all you need. I want you to download it. So download the attention is all you need paper. So once you've downloaded it, let me also share my screen because I don't want anybody to have issues downloading this paper. So let me share this tab instead so you can see what I'm doing. Yes, so you just have to do is type attention is all you need paper, right? Then you click on it and then you click view PDF and then you click on this download icon here. Then you save it, get the steps and then you are not lost. So all you have to do is first type attention is all you need paper, then click on it, right? And then you click on view PDF and then you click on download, right? Download it to your PC. So you might have a question, why is she making us download this paper, right? Fine. You need to listen to this paper as a podcast in a very, very interesting way so you get more understanding of how GPT works. So I gave you a very easy fundamentals, right, of how GPT is able to process text with tokenization, either stemming or lemmatization, and then embedding, right? This paper will help you in a very, very interesting way, more like you're listening to a story, very interesting way to help you get more understanding of that. Of course, I won't be asking you, oh, have you read this paper or not? I'm just trying to show you a very interesting application of generative AI and also still helping you get more understanding of how these different models work. So if you've been able to download the paper, let me know in the chat and then we'll come back to our NotebookLM interface as you can see on my screen. But I know some of us are not able to do that, so you don't have to worry. Oh, some people are saying I'm not sharing my screen. Please, is that true? You can't see my screen? Yeah, I understand if you can't go to the browser now. Okay, you want me to take that again. Okay, no problem. So let me share this tab instead. Please confirm if you can see my screen. Someone said they cannot see my screen. Okay, thank you very much for responding. You can see my screen. I said you should go to attention is all you need paper, download it, click on the first option you get, and then click on view PDF. Okay, please, can you hear me now? Okay, please, I need more responses so I can be sure you can hear me. Yes, I'm back. All right, great one. Yeah. So now we stopped here. So let me reshare my screen. So we stopped here. Yes, so we are currently here. So now most of us, like 20% of us, I'm sure, we've been able to download the Attention is All You Need paper. For those that are still struggling with that, I'll share this tab again and go over this for the last time, right? All you have to just do is go to your browser, right, and then type Attention is All You Need the paper, and then click on the first option it brings up, and then click on View PDF, and then you download the paper. So moving on, after you've downloaded the paper, we'll come back to our NotebookLM tab, and then you click on Create New, right? So once you click on Create New, it will tell you to add your source. So you can see it's not only research papers that you can add. So you can add maybe your marketing plan for those of us that have marketing field, or maybe you have a course that you want to read and it's just so much for you to read, right? You can just upload it here and then listen to your course, right, as a podcast. It's not only the podcast feature that Notebook LM has, right? It can even help you like bring out the like subtopics that you have in your article or your paper. So it will show you like a mind map. It's called a mind map. It will show you the different subtopics that you have there, and you can just click on it to get information about a specific part, and then you can just even ask questions about that paper or article or transcripts or sales documents, right, that you are reading. But right now we are using the Attention is All You Need paper. So you have to click on Upload Resource, and then click on what you downloaded, and then click on Open. So once you do that, it is going to upload the paper into NotebookLM for you, and you can just rename it and say this is Attention is All You Need notebook. So these are the different things that you can do. So you can see it's giving you a brief overview, right, of the resource that you uploaded. So you can say, oh, I want to see the audio overview, or you want to see the mind map, or you want to get a quiz on it, or you want to see flashlight, different very, very important things that you can see on it. So to get the audio overview, so you can just click on audio overview and then you listen to it as a podcast. So let me know if you are having issues doing this, or if you've been able to do that successfully. Oh, someone is saying they can't hear me. Wow. Oh, you don't have to download Notebook LM is a promise. You just have to go to your browser. We've not downloaded anything in today's class. You are not downloading anything throughout this class. Sorry, we've only downloaded the paper actually, but anything tools we are not downloading. So you just have to go to your browser and type Notebook LM, then you get to the site. So you are not downloading Notebook LM. I hope you get that now. Is a promise. Ibukun Oladayo, you are saying no sound again. Please, can anybody confirm if they are able to hear me very clearly. Constance, you also, I think you have to check your network. Thank you, Temiloluwa. Yes, maybe your network is bad. Thank you, Oluwa Damilola. It's from their end. Oh, I should go over the NotebookLM part again. Abiodun is saying no download option for the paper. Really? Did you do it the same way I said you can do it? Your network is terrible. I'm so sorry about that. You can always watch it on YouTube. Thank you for saying you can hear me very clearly. I'm glad to hear that. Okay, so for some people that are still having issue, let me go over the download paper again for the last time. So I'm sure, for has anybody been able to get to the point that I got to? I can still I'll still go over it again, right? So I can still go over it again, right? But has anybody been able to get to the point that I was able to get to? Wow, great one, co-defenders. You were able to get, yes, NotebookLM is free. You do not have to worry. NotebookLM is very, very free. Yes. Great one. Wow. And I'm sure you can hear. Have you been able to generate the audio? Wow, generated. Well done. All right. So for those of us that are not there yet, you do not have to worry, right? So let me go over it again. Thank you very much, Beekeeper. So moving on, the audio overview is generating. Wow, I'm happy to hear that. So let's go back for those that have not been able to um download the paper. So first thing, just like I said, type attention is all you need paper. Have you typed that? What options did you get? Did you get the option for ARXIV? If you got that option, let me know. Say yes in the chat. Great one. I can see that most of you are able to generate the audio. That's right. That's nice. All right. Okay, okay, yes, I can see Chronobly saying yes. All right. So this is for those that have not been able to generate their own audio. So after you've clicked on the attention, typed rather in your Chrome tab, you've typed attention is all you need, the paper. Then click on it. Click on the one for ARXIV. Click on it. Then you are going to see this, right? Can you see this? If you can see this, please type yes. And then if you can also notice a view PDF, you have to first click on this view PDF at the right hand side of your screen, right? So click on the view PDF. So if you can see that, so I can see that most of us have generated the audio. Great one. But for those that are still having issues downloading our source, right? So click on view PDF at the right hand side corner of your screen. This is the last time I'm going over this. Then click on download. Can you see this download icon? Yes, you can see it, right? Click on it and then it gets downloaded to your PC. All you have to then do, right? So let me go back to home in my NotebookLM. Yes, once you are now back in NotebookLM this way, right? You can click on create new and then upload your source, right? So once you've been able to upload your source, you get the different things that you can do. It's not only the audio, right? Just as you can see that you can have access to, right? You can have access to the mind map parts, a lot of things that will make you understand whatever article that you are reading very well. Yes, you can also watch it later, right? So I'm sure most of us know a PC is not compulsory. Everything you can do from your browser, and then you can access it from your browser, most of the things we need. So it's great that most of us have been able to generate that audio. So make sure you listen to it very nicely and clearly so you get more understanding of um what you've learned today, and then to also have like a backstory to how these different models, Gemini, um you should be able to see create new, Nwosu. Just look at the upper right hand side of your screen. So patience, why are you confused? Tell me why you are confused. Type it in the chat. All right. So you want to listen to offline. Wow, you can also make a research on that. I don't actually always listen to it offline. I just prefer to listen to it there and go my way. So you can do a research on that, on how to listen to it offline if that's possible. All right, so moving on. uh Tell me what you've been able to learn in today's class. So before we do the final thing for the class today, I can go back a little. So the assignment is just for you to increase your knowledge, right, on generative AI. I'm really not going to ask about it, right? Upload your attention is all you need. Paper, upload it on NotebookLM, generate the audio, listen to it as a podcast, and then it's taking time. Yeah, it might take a bit of time because of your network and all. Yes, so I can see that most of us have learnt uh new thing today, right? Maybe 20% of us, right? Some of us might know Notebook LM before, because I'm sure most of us have interacted with a lot of AI tools, right, before. Great one, and this is just the tip of the iceberg of what we have for you in this program. All right, so if you're having issues still generating your audio, you don't have to worry too much. It's available on YouTube. You can always watch it at your earliest convenience and then get to understand this. Yes. All right, so moving on, the last thing that we'll be learning for today, we've learned a lot of things today. We started with we giving a very lots of tools. Like I was glad when I saw everybody mentioning Sonar AI, Gemini, Claude. Oh, I use Claude to draft emails. I did this and did that. I did email drafting. Oh, for ad video generation and all. No, Elizabeth, that is not the only thing that you can do with Notebook LM, right? Yes, I know you would. That's not the only thing. You have to look at, okay, let me show this again before I give my recap. I'm trying to actually give a recap of everything we've done today. Look at this part. Everything written here is what you can do with Notebook LM. Everything here. So enjoy the tool more, right? Get more interesting. Interact with it the more rather, and then the better you know how to use it. I know, right? So moving on, I'm giving like a brief more of an overview, right, of what we've done today. So the first thing we did, right? So I'm just trying to tune our mind back to how far we've come, right, in this class. So the first thing we did was to tell ourselves the different apps, right, AI apps that we have used before, right? A lot of us mention a lot of tools. Even I learned a very new tool. Somebody said, I think was it Sona AI, that person said, oh, I use it to generate music, and that was very nice to learn about. So there are lots of tools that we use in today's world that we cannot know everything, right? But we get to know um them, right, as we get to know them as they are being released. Even you yourself, at the end of this class, you are going to also release your own AI, Gen AI application. So great one. So we started with, I'm trying to give a recap now so you don't get confused. So we started with what Gen AI tools we have all used before, and then we are conversant to it. So after doing that, we moved on to the different applications of Gen AI, which is we said text generation, we used code generation, we said image generation, and then we also said video generation, audio generation, and all. Then we moved on to play with Gemini, and then we said, oh, we were able to generate an image. We even saw how to use deep research, which is very, very nice and a cool tool to add if you are looking at becoming a researcher, right? So after doing that, we also moved on to learn about the fundamentals of how um these models they are able to generate text, right? So we moved on to understand the fundamentals. We saw tokenize. So if someone should tell you tokenization at the end of this class, right, I'm sure you are able to understand what tokenization means, like breaking words in a very minimalist to explain it in a very minimal way, like when you are doing tokenization, right, you are breaking the text into chunks, like the smallest chunks. It now depends on the type of tokenizer that you are using that would explain how you want to break those texts. I say you want to do it word by word, character level, or subword. So it depends. So we've learned that. We also learned stemming and lemmatization, where stemming takes like the ending word away and lemmatization takes the root word that conforms with the dictionary meaning. We saw that. And then we also saw embedding. Embedding. So I want to explain what embedding means. Can anybody explain what embedding means to them in the chat? What does embedding mean to you? So I'm trying to give a recap now. So once I'm done with my recap, if you have any question for me before 9 p.m., then you can end today's class. So what does embedding mean? Can you remember what I said about embedding? Yes, thank you very much for that, Chinonso. We are converting words, right? A very simple explanation, converting words to numbers. But a very important part that we are forgetting that I said also is that similar words, right, they are always grouped together. That part is the most important thing that makes it an embedding. Apart from converting the words to vectors or numbers, right, the similar words part, that one I don't want you to forget. They're always like grouped together. You see them in the same space, right? They're always in the same space, right? Don't forget that part. Then the similar words, they're always not in the same space, right? Apart from yes, group yes. So similar words, after they've been converted to numbers, like you would similarly see similar words in the same space, right? We are going to be seeing a tool where we'll see how we do a game where we'll see how these embeddings they play out as we move on. So yes, we saw how NLP fundamentals is, and then we also moved on to discuss about NotebookLM, which is a very, very interesting tool that will help us convert our paper, article, notebook, anything we upload there, PDF, into a podcast, or you can also even chat with it and do a lot of things, just as we saw in on the interface. So our employers, a very good assignment, I'm not going to ask about this, right? Assignment for us is that our employers to make sure you download the Attention is All You Need paper. Listen to that paper in a very interesting way, right? Using a podcast. Yes. So when you are done with that, right, you even have a more solid understanding of most of the things that we've done today, and then you'll be ready for tomorrow. So when we come tomorrow, we are going to be using Google Colab. Yes. So we won't just be talking and doing introduction like we did today, right? Oh, don't worry, Diamond. We are going to do it tomorrow. We just have 10 minutes left. I don't want to do a lot of information overload today. You've learned a lot already today. All right, so we'll be seeing how to do that tomorrow. So tomorrow we'll see how to create a collab notebook. I'll be sharing our collab notebooks with us, and then we'll see how to run our code right on collab. And then we'll take it on from there. We'll also connect to Hugging Face. We'll see how to use Hugging Face Inference API to have access to some of these models, right? Some of these models that we see. We don't have to go to their interface. From our collab notebook, right? We are going to have access to some of these models that we usually go to their UI, right? And then we'll see how to work with them and the different wonders that we can do with these models in our collab notebook. We won't just stop there, right? We won't just leave our simple apps that we are going to create in collab notebook. We are going to move on and take it further, right? All right, so we are going to take it further, right? When we won't just rather, sorry, I was reading a comment, so I got distracted. So we won't just be leaving whatever we create in our collab notebook, right? We are going to take it one step further and then also use a very simple tool in Python library rather in Python called Gradio. So we are going to be using Gradio to show whatever we build as an application. So you can just show your friend, take this link and access the tool that I built, and it's going to be very nice. So for those of you asking question, I'll be taking the remaining 8 minutes to answer our question. We'll be having our class tomorrow, same time, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. We have our classes Mondays, Tuesdays, and then on Wednesdays. So Monday 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., Tuesday 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., Wednesday same time, same location. Oh, you were told training is Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Wow, I'm surprised. All right, so we can always confirm that part. I'm sure the information for the exact time of the class will be communicated to you all. Yes, so slide up. We are going to launch your own AI application, and then at the end of the class, in fact, you are going to think of a problem that you want to work on, and then do it with AI after you've gotten the prerequisite fundamental knowledge that you need. Then you'll be able to launch your own AI application, then deploy it with tools like Gradio, very simple one. And for those that have maybe, I don't know, more knowledge of web, they can decide not to use Gradio and use maybe a more sophisticated tool. Yes, you don't have to worry. We are going to take you one step at a time in this class. My name, oh, I mentioned my name at the beginning of this class. My name is Adejumobi Joshua, and I am a data scientist at Secov Analytics and also an AI researcher at Machine Learning Collective. All right. So if you have any more question, we can use the remaining 5 minutes of this yeah, remaining 5 minutes to answer your question. Question on the audio, is that all the audio? I can just see two of the podcasts. Like, what is the PDF? Well, you can always try it out. Oluwadamilola. If the PDF is like 300 pages, what will happen? Most models, they always have token limits, right? So you can try it out. What if it's like 300 pages? Try to upload it on NotebookLM and then see if it's going to give you like a very good podcast of your document. Or you can also do a Google search and say, oh, what if I upload a very large document on NotebookLM? What happens? Is it going to complain that, oh, this is too large, or you should shrink it, or it's going to be able to still generate a podcast? So that's something you can always want to try out on your own. I should re-explain the notebook LM to listen to the PDF part. Well, okay, I just have 4 minutes more to explain the uh class. Okay, so before I go back to that explanation, I saw a question on lovable. I can't see it again. I saw a question on lovable. I don't know. I can't see that question on lovable again. But I don't know if you are thinking of lovable. I can't see the question again. But lovable is also a very very good AI tool, right? That you can use, right? That you can just tell it that, oh, I want to build this kind of app, right? And it's going to give you like the code that you can use to build the app. Even if you even now need to store the your, maybe you need like a database at the back end. Lovable has Superbase connected to it on the back end, right? So you can also use that. You can just on your own learn how to see it. It's a very good tool to Lovable, yeah. So as I said, there are lots of AI tools in today's world. Even you in this class, after this class, you will learn to build your own, right? So Lovable, as someone mentioned, I can't even see the comment again, is a very nice AI tool also that you can add to your toolkit. Okay, so for the very last time for notebook LM, let me come back and now go to home. So once you are create new, look at the right hand side of your screen and click on create new. So once you click on create new, immediately you get a tab to upload the sources. So once you've been able to do that, then you can pick whatever source you want to upload from your PC, and then you begin to chat with your document easily. All right, so let's see if we have any more questions before I wrap up with the class today. Yes, thank you very much for listening also. I'm glad you found the class insightful. Precious is saying you don't understand that notebook aspect. All right, we still have 2 minutes before the end of this class. So you just have to go to a new tab. So I'm doing this. Click on type notebook LM in your tab and then click on it, right? So once you click on notebook LM, click on the first choice, right, shown to you. Oops, I think my network is acting up. So you just have to click on that first choice shown to you, and then you have an interface like this. My network. Yes, and then make sure you sign up and then create a new notebook, upload whatever you need to upload there, and then you would have access to it. Well, if you do not understand, you can always come back to this YouTube channel and rewatch the class. So tomorrow, I want us to come prepared with our mind totally in the class, and then we'll be seeing how to not just use these AI models right from the UI. So we are going a step further by using them via the API. And when we say API means application programming interface, right? So yes, so and then we'll also be getting a deeper understanding of everything that we've learned today. So we just gave like a very brief scratching the surface explanation of things that we needed to learn. So don't forget to please listen to the podcast of the Attention is All You Need paper, and then we'll meet tomorrow, same time. I hope you have a restful night and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.